it's Tox from CritsHappen.com. Thanks for watching and welcome back. We're here with another critical preview where we take a game that's about to be on Kickstarter, put it through its paces, and let you know about our experiences while playing it. This time around, we're looking at a game that is going to feel and look very familiar, even though what you see in front of you is very different. This is called Scribes Arena, and it's by Jason Chan. Jason and I had a chance to meet at BGG-Con this year, and honestly, going in, I was a little skeptical. You see, the basis of this game is Hangman. Yes, Hangman, the old game where you would draw a little noose and do a little head if someone missed a letter and a leg and an arm. And of course, if you were the Cards Against Humanity type player, you might do a little dirty picture. And if you were anyone else, you might do a little stickman figure. But a game that we all know from our childhood, a game that we all have played at some point or another. It is a word guessing game. However, it takes place in a fantasy world filled with gods, allies, and spells that are going to greatly change what you think and what you know about this type of game. Now, I am a very big fan of taking something that is known and familiar, tweaking it and making it more strategic. And that's exactly what Scribes Arena does. So come with me as we jump into this guessing game of wit and will with all the different gods, all the different allies, and all the different spells to succeed in the arena. Now, here you see the setup for a two-player basic game of Scribes Arena. What we've done is we've each chosen a god. So one player is Icarus, the nature god. The other player is Zhurong, the fire god. Now there are 5 different versions, I guess, or elements. There are nature, light, darkness, fire, and water. And in each of those, there are 2 different gods in the game. So there's 10 different to choose from. Now, this game is designed for 2 players, but it can be played up to 4 players, and there are some really creative versions of how you could play with multiple players as well. We have found it to be a phenomenal 2-player game. Now, after we've set up and chosen our gods, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our starting resources. So Zhurong here says he has energy 10, so I take a mana energy marker here and I put it on 10. Then I get 2 spells, so I draw 2 spells from the top of the spell deck. And then I get 2 allies. Now, you don't have to play with allies, but if you want to play a more advanced game, you can. Each element has 5 different allies. Now, the difference between an ally and a spell is spells are going to be drawn, played, discarded to a common discard area. Allies are yours and yours alone. You're only allowed to bring as many as your god lets you, and if I chose these 2, I can use any one ally on my turn, but once I use it, I flip it over, and I'll never have it for the rest of the game. So you want to choose very carefully when you're drafting these guys what you want to pick. But they are very, very different. And they bring about some really good complexity to the game to allow you to have a lot of fun and a lot of replay value. So let's look at Icarus now. Icarus has only 1 energy, drastically different from Zhurong. Icarus gets 1 spell, and he gets 2 allies as well. Now, we're going to play a basic game, so we're not going to include allies in this, but I will tell you a little bit about the allies. They will allow you to do specific things on your turn that can range from anything from guessing more letters, to getting more energy, to drawing more cards, to recycling cards back, and they just do a really, really good job of that one moment where you need something, they can help you get there, just like a good ally would. So once we've done that and set up our gods, the next thing we're going to do is get our starting arena. Now there's an arena deck here, and we've already flipped out the Holy Cathedral as our first arena. You have the option to play as many different arenas as you like in a game. We find it to be best to be 2 out of 3. So the first one will be here is a Holy Cathedral. You'll notice it said word lengths 7, 5, and 5. Now on each player's game board there is an orange, blue, and purple section for 3 different words. The 7 refers to the orange, the 5 refers to the blue, and the last 5 refers to the purple. If we were playing a normal game with 3 words, we would choose a first word in orange that is going to be 7 letters, and then a 5-letter word and a 5-letter word for blue and for purple. Since we're going to play a basic game and it's just going to be 2 words, we're going to just choose the 7 and the 5. Now, we've already gone ahead and chosen some words. I'm going to flip these over and show you. We have dragons and flame as one player's words, and then angelic and wings as the other player's words. So they're going to go ahead and do that in secret. Now I'm just showing you this so that you can see and get an idea of what it is. But each one of us would have done that in secret and the other person would not have known. Then each player is given a dry erase marker and an eraser, and it is off to the races. Now let's talk a little bit about the turn order. Let's presume that Zhirong is going to go first. The very first phase is the start phase, where you're going to gain 1 energy and draw 1 spell. So Zhirong can't gain any energy, he's at maximum at 10, but he will draw a 3rd spell. And now let's take a look at our spells and see what we have. We have 3 action spells, which are all blue. There are also interrupt and counter spells, which are purple and orange. But essentially every spell has an energy cost in the upper right, and then it will tell you exactly what it does. So for example, Purification says, opponent reveals their hand, then you destroy one of their spells. Or remove a locked letter in any word. Locked is a really interesting concept. You'll notice here on the player boards, there are areas where you can cross off what letters you've guessed of your opponent's word. There is a lock area as well, where 1 letter can be locked. There are some spells that will lock a guessed letter. And what that means is, let's say I guessed A. My opponent then played a counter spell that locked that letter. What that means is he does not have to tell me if the letter A is in his word or not, and I can no longer guess that letter at all in that word. So it's a really cool mechanic of, am I bluffing or am I not bluffing, and trying to figure it out. Then we have things like Relentless. Relentless says special guess 1 letter. If correct, special guess 1 bonus letter. Now, what does special guess mean? Well, on your turn, after you draw your spell and gain your energy, you then have your action phase, where you can use as many spells as you have energy to pay for, and special guess a letter or letters depending on what the spell says. At the end of the phase, at the end of your turn, you're going to always get 1 normal guess. And those are the 2 real key pieces of terminology in the game. Special guess and normal guess. Every turn you're going to get a normal guess of either 1 letter, or you can guess the word at the end of your turn. But during your turn, it's going to be up to you to maximize your god's power, which we'll talk about in a second, and the spells that you've drawn, plus any effects of the arena that you're in to benefit you. Now, effects of the arena. Let's talk about that for a second. This one says on Holy Cathedral, players reveal the first letter of their first word. So we must tell each other what the first letter of our word was. So if you'll remember, this player had the word angelic. So I can put an A right there. This person had dragons, so this person can put a D right there. And that means we're ready to finally start playing spells and affecting our words and our guesses. So Zhirong has a god power that says after each of your start phases, you may gain an extra energy or draw an extra spell. Well, he's already at the max, he's already drawn his 1 spell, so he can choose to draw an additional spell. As you can imagine, Zhirong is very, very powerful at the beginning of the game. However, he does not have a lot of things that are going to benefit him later in the game, so he's going to have to use his stuff correctly. We're going to go ahead and play Dimensional Rip. That's going to cost us 5 energy, so we would move down 5. And it says special guess 4 consecutive letters. This gets put in the discard pile. My opponent would have the opportunity to possibly counter. Now he does have a counter spell. When a spell is used, cancel it. Destroy that spell and refund their used energy. However, it costs 2 energy, and Icarus only has 1 energy, so he's not able to play that at all. If he did have enough energy, he could play it and totally stop this. Now, what does consecutive letters mean? Well, it basically means in order of the alphabet. So if I wanted to immediately guess A, I would have to guess A, B, C, and D. Or if I wanted to guess S, I would guess S, T, U, and V, right in order. So let's say I want to go in the middle of the pack and I want to do D, E, F, and G. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cross off D, E, F, and G to show that I have guessed those. Then my opponent is going to look at their words and go, there is an E and it's the 4th letter. And I would go, okay, I would come over here and put an E right here. And then they would say, nothing else is there. So I would have spent 5 of my energy to guess that E. Now I still have 5 energy, so if I want to continue playing spells, I could do that. So if I wanted to play Relentless, I could spend 2, special guess 1 letter, if correct, special guess 1 bonus letter. So let's say I decided I wanted to do I. I could say I, my opponent would look at their word and they would say yes, it is the 6th letter. So I could put an I right here, and because I was right, I can guess a bonus letter. I could then say S, cross off S, and my opponent would say, nope, there's no S, and then I would continue on my turn. If at the end of my turn I've decided to stop and I'm not going to play anything because I want to hold energy over, I then have a normal guess, and I can guess 1 normal letter or guess the word. At this point, I have no idea what it is. So I could say, you know what, I'm going to guess R as my normal guess. My opponent would then say, nope, there's no R, and that would be the end of my first turn. Moving over to Icarus now, Icarus would take their first turn. The first thing they would do is they would gain 1 energy and go to 2, and then he would draw 1 spell. So he would get a second spell, which is also a counter spell. So he's set up quite nicely for the opponent's attacks on him, but he doesn't have a lot to do on his own. Now let's take a look at Icarus's power. In each of your start phases, you gain 1 additional energy for every spell in your hand. Well, we had 1 spell in our hand at the beginning, so we will gain an additional energy, and now we have 3. As you can imagine, these 2 gods are very counterbalanced. Zhurong is very heavy at the beginning, Icarus is very big at the end. And that's one of the things I really liked about Scribes Arena, is that the gods feel very different, the powers work really well, and it's a lot of fun maximizing the cards that you get in your hand from drawing and what your god's power is to really make effective guesses. Now at this point, Icarus has no action spells to use. He only has counter spells. So he's going to skip his action phase altogether and go straight to his end phase and go ahead and pick a letter as a normal guess. He would go ahead and say, you know what, I've already got a D and I know that's the D is there. However, the one thing that I want to show you is I don't want to cross this out. You'll notice I didn't cross out the A over there. The only reason we have the A and the D is because the Holy Cathedral said the start effect is we must reveal the first letter of the first word. It doesn't say that we have to reveal all of those letters. So there very well may be another A, and there may very well be another D over here. So I'm not going to be crossing any of those off. So I will go ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to guess an A as my normal guess. My opponent would then look at his word and double check and go, yes, the 3rd letter has an A, so he would put an A right there. That would be the end of Icarus's turn, and then it would flip back over to Zhurong. And that is essentially how the game continues to play out. Players gain energy, they draw their cards, they play their spells, and they guess words. Now, once you finish an arena, meaning that you've gone through both words in the arena that you're in, or all 3 words in the arena you're in, whoever wins would get a point or get a victory token or whatever you want to call it. And then we would flip over the next arena and we would start brand new with new words. This one is the Fire Chasm. This says the first word is 4 letters, the second word is 6, and the third word is 6. But the effect says that players start the game with the effect special guess 3 letters. So we would automatically guess 3 letters. Now the one thing we haven't talked about is as you're guessing, you can only guess in the topmost word you don't know. So because we're playing with 2 words, I can't guess any letters or anything in the blue word until I complete the orange word of my opponent. Once I complete both words, I will have won. Or in a regular game, when you're playing with 3 words, you could guess all 3 words. Once you guess all 3, then you've won that round. And that is Scribes Arena. So that's Scribes Arena. Scribes Arena really took us by surprise. We played our first game at BGGCon, and immediately when we were done, we played our second game. We were that into it, we had to play it immediately right again. Then, for the next few hours, our group kept talking about Scribes Arena. We're sitting there playing Caverna, One Night Werewolf, all these new games that had come out, and we're like, you remember when we were playing this? If I had played this spell, I think I could have done that. I could have guessed your word. There were so many things we were talking about strategic-wise that brought us back to this game that it was just an absolute blast to think about and come back to and play again after that. We have played multiple games since then and have thoroughly enjoyed all the different gods, all the different allies. One of the things I really like is all of the gods are very different. There's 10 total in the game, 2 for each nature. What is it? Water, nature, fire, light, and darkness are what's in this version of the game. And they're all very different, even among themselves and among others from different deities. The allies are really powerful, and it's really cool that you can switch that up in between games and choose how you want to play the next game that you're going to attack with or play with. The spells are really easy. Once you learn the difference between a special guess and a normal guess, you pretty much got the game down, and the spells are very intuitive of when to play them. The trick is maximizing those with your god power to make sure that you're balancing your energy and capable of doing and reacting to things on your opponent's turn, but then doing and acting on things on your turn as well. So overall, we have thoroughly enjoyed Scribes Arena, and I would highly recommend to check it out. As always, what you see in front of you is a beta or prototype. If you want to learn more about the final product, you can check out the information on their product page, which has links at the end of this video or below in the YouTube description. But in the meantime, we'd love to hear from you. Leave your comments below in the YouTube channel. Of course, join in the discussion on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+ by searching Crits Happen, or our homepage at critshappen.com. But until we see you next time, thanks so much for watching. Keep rolling those dice, and we hope they're all crits.